What's up, guys? We're back with another video today. Today we're going to talk about the state of the meta. This is in the wake of the South Kai event, and I guess today currently the Grand Prix is going on out in Miami. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how accurate we are on our views on the meta. But I brought in a few players today. Of course, I brought the champion of South Kai, Brandon Biggers, top cutter Henry Johnson. You've top cut at a few different events, I believe, Henry, this season. And then,
Yep.
of course, Daniel Behe, another guy who's top cut many events, Tournament of Power participant, and Eric Ing, of course, one of the best players, in my opinion, in the game, if not the main protagonist of Fan Z, as everyone says, and my personal rival. Go ahead and say hello, everybody, just at once.
What's up?
Hi.
Hey.
So anyway, guys, I want to talk about the state of the meta today, and I think to pick up on the state of the meta, it would be really good to start talking kind of about the post North Kai, kind of North Kai um, experience to kind of go through setting up and giving context to where we're at now. So we've had two CRDs drop since North Kai. Of course, there was the immediate release where three enhanced decks got top cut and enhanced immediately got hit. Turning kick limit one, mastery limited to two style attacks combat, and then of course we had Aura Goku get hit, the mastery getting the changes, and then Redacted Drill getting changed to banish after use. In that wake, we had the Super Shenron, the Shenron Showdown, which all four of you guys played in that event. So I'm gonna take it off. Brandon, what was your thoughts, kind of, because you were the winner of that one. Or sorry, yes, you were the winner of that one. You played finals against Eric. What was your thoughts about the meta with that first COD?
I think that that event was proof positive that Aura wasn't hit hard enough. And post that, Aura lost Revoking Grill, which was a pretty solid hit, in my opinion. But honestly, the only thing that really changed about the meta post CRD, I think, was that enhanced just kind of dropped off the map almost entirely, except for Kelly, who ran Broly and went like 0 and 5 or 0 and 4, 1 and 4. I don't. It was bad.
Yeah.
And he was pretty disappointed with that showing. Obviously. But I think we saw that the enhanced nerfs worked. Like they accomplished burying enhanced. I guess that was the point. But the Aura ones didn't. So
Hmm. Uh, Eric, you were running. Sorry, you were Aura Goku, or I believe, right, for that event.
Yep, that's right. I ran that for a reason.
And I do know we've had a lot of discussion about what you thought would work against Aura in terms of like bringing it down. And of course, the finals ended up being Aura 18, Brandon versus you, Aura Goku. How did you feel kind of about the meta at that point?
uh, Post first CRD, I think my opinion of the meta was that Aura was still dominant, and I think the Shenron Showdown proved it, and that was why I played Aura Goku. And I mean, if you look at the deck breakdown, I think only Brandon and I ran Aura in that tournament, and both of us topped. We were the top two finalists. So um, I wanted to show that it was still broken because like I agree with Brandon, it wasn't hit hard enough, um, and it was just such a free mastery that that more needed to be done. And I think specifically it was with Goku and Aura combination itself. I don't really have much problem with any other MPs, such as Brandon's Aura 18. Um, I don't think that's a broken thing. I think the combination of Goku and Aura was what was broken. So
yeah, I think Aura 18 was definitely more fair. I mean, because I lost two in Swiss, but then I beat those same people in Top Cut, which one of them was you.
yeah, yeah.
But it's but I agree with you. I think Goku and Aura combined still generate so much advantage that it can be really overwhelming at times.
So something to
Yeah,
note too on that CRD, I know that they did limit Swiftguard to a one of on the post North Kai CRD. They did that. And Dan, you were playing Empowered Piccolo, and I know been on that deck for a moment. You've played that deck a while. How did you feel about Empowered Piccolo post that North Kai CRD?
I mean, the deck is still strong, but I wasn't happy to see the hit to Swift Guard. It lost a bit of consistency in generating the advantage that it does, losing or that card becoming limit 1. I think it still has a place in the meta. It's got a strong matchup against a lot of the decks that are making top cut, but it's really weak to combat ending, and when you do get your one combat, when you're not going to be able to pop off that advantage with those Swift Guards, it just loses a lot of what it brings to the table.
Now, Henry, you of course are the resident Hero Boo player. You are one of the only people that is stuck with Hero Boo. The only person I know of that's really stuck on Hero Boo. I know people have splashed him and stuff since his release back in set 14. But so you were rocking energetic Boo. I've seen you rock other Boos. How did you feel about Boo going into that tournament? I mean, I know you top cut.
Yeah, I got top 4. I just kind of played the deck because it was a fast anger deck. Like, I won a lot, but I don't think that was really it. I didn't win because of orange. I just won because it was a lot of anger for Boo. Won my games that I won. Yeah, I just felt like the way the meta was, I just wanted to play a bunch of the damage that didn't really have much else to do. So the CRD didn't really affect that deck. It just convinced me that I didn't really know what people would bring, so I should just do a lot of damage.
So you say just do a lot of damage. So what is your view of that meta going into that? It's just like you need to be aggro, you need to just put the gas pedal on.
Well, I think for most decks, like right now, like it's important to be able to match a lot of damage, and that's like what Hero Boo does. Like, I don't know if this is my time to give my spiel on why Hero Boo is a lot better than people give it credit for, but it just has an ability to match damage in most matches that is really good in this meta when, you don't know what anyone's bringing, but, you can pretty safely bet that the majority of decks are going to be pretty aggro. So, yeah.
So on that, there was about a week or two, there's about 2 weeks between the Shenron Showdown and South Kai, is that correct?
About, yeah.
Yeah, and you, Henry, into great to success again, you brought Boo, I think you brought Resolute Boo, correct, to South Kai and you top 4'd again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a consistency with Boo. I chose Resolute just because, the deck's really consistent. It's just the most consistent thing with Boo, and Boo's a consistent MP, which is good right now. He matches everyone's damage. He's a really good tempo MP, which is why I like him. I play him because he's my favorite character, and I like his play style. But I think he's really, like I said, strong right now because he can match everyone's damage, and he's been strong in pretty much every meta I've played him in, just because of that ability.
What do you think makes him consistent?
He has, if he gets his dog out, he has life damage on every level. Every level, of course you win. The games you win with Hero Boo are the games you level up. But even stuck on 1, especially in Resolute when you get +1 life, every game, you have damage no matter what. And you're always threatening the opponent with leveling because right now, really all you can rely on in your deck is your Mastery and your MP. And just between your Mastery and your MP with the Boo decks I've been playing, I feel like I'm able to output a fair amount of damage and pressure.
So
which is, I think, important just in general for most good decks these days. They have to have you don't see this isn't the time to talk about black, but, card pool is secondary. I think it's the same with Brandon and his Namekian Gohan and his 18 deck, and a lot of the decks Eric plays and the deck Dan played at South Kai. It's a strong Mastery and MP combo. The card pool is kind of secondary, I feel.
So of course, post Shenron Showdown, we had another CRD. Aura got hit again. was the only thing hit. They took away Provoking Drill from Aura, and then they took oh my gosh, I'm spacing on what was the other change? I completely am blending the two together.
Redacted drill
Redacted.
became BAU.
Oh yes, that's right. I was thinking Redacted Drill got hit on
It
that
was
first.
Conference Drill.
Conference Drill got hit.
In the
Conference
first
Drill.
CRD,
Conference Drill got
they took
frozen.
Conference Drill from Heroes.
Yeah, I have the two. I have the two flopped around. Yeah, because Conference Drill's villains only now, of course.
Yeah.
So Oragoku lost a lot of ability to kind of to be able to level. Took a lot of weaknesses to Unleashed, a lot of weaknesses to Dig. Eric, as the guy that wanted to bust and break Oragoku, after seeing the two CRDs, how do you feel about Oragoku now? Because
Well, I've tested it extensively with you because we've been playing our late night sessions, and I've been running various lists and edits to Oragoku after that second CRD. And honestly, I think the direction that at least the developers wanted us to go was probably trying to bring back some more slower control decks and maybe try to push the meta towards maybe bringing more black decks out, because honestly previously with the provoking drill, it's almost like black and any other setup drill deck is going to be a step behind, because Goku can tutor provoking drill instantly, and you would have to play 2 board cards in order to actually do something. So I think that's what they were trying to do with that. And then as far as Redacted Drill nerf, I think that basically made it so that you had to probably, if you're running Oragoku, maybe you can run 2 Redacted Drills. Or honestly, just, run the one of copy and just rely on that one tutor to get that drill to boost you up to 2. And I think the game plan now with Oragoku is it's more of a glass cannon, I would say. You want to get that burst combat in with your drills out before you get leveled, or you're never going to enter combat unless you have maybe sweeping blast, or you run more spheres so you can combat your opponent's unleashed. With dig, it's there's nothing you can do about that. And then now, like, I know Brandon mentioned that Ocular Pat Down is a meta card now, and that's probably because of the conference drill from the first
CRD.
errata or whatever. Yeah. So I think Oragoku is still one of the top decks. I would argue maybe it still is even the top deck still, just because the matchups are just so good. Like, Oragoku is still just so consistent, and I think we've talked about this before, where people have mentioned that a lot of the stronger decks now just tutor, right? They're you tutor whatever you need. Like, look at Vegeta, level 3 and 4. You tutor whatever you need from your deck or from your discard pile. So those decks are what are strong, that they're going to top cut, because you, instead of relying on just drawing cards blindly, you're grabbing what you need. And also the decks that do well also have a lot of and I'm going to throw a Kelly Dennis reference here, action economy. So a combination of tutoring and action economy it's going to give you a really good advantage against whatever deck your opponent has. So
I don't think that's why Hirabu is so good too, because 2 MP powers a turn. Every level's an attack.
Yep.
And he does. Those mods add up. Like, if you get to level 4 or level 3 even, those mods add up to probably an extra attack every combat.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're seeing MPs like Draku and Vegito like sort of be a step behind, is because blind draws are just strictly worse than tutoring.
Yeah.
And we still saw Oragoku in the finals of South Kai. And it was Energy Oragoku, which I actually think is worse than Eric's physical version that he's running. But like, having all those answers on demand, because even without provoking drill, you can still go get energy phasing drill. And if they just don't have a block, or if you have an AK, it's virtually the same as provoking drill.
Yeah.
Not quite as busted, obviously, but you still you still have those answers and those options to just, erode somebody's board. So yeah, I mean, the best NPs are tutoring, and Ocular Pat Down I think is still strong even without Goku in the meta because it's an unleashed meta.
Yeah.
Like all the best decks are, cheating ways to higher levels. So
Speaking of cheating ways to higher levels, Dan, the guy who ran oppressive Vegeta into top cut at South Kai, what led you to kind of land on Vegeta? I know a lot of people have been playing Vegeta. I see a lot of different Saiyan, like every Saiyan in Red Mastery I've seen him with being played. There was some Black Vegeta earlier on in the season, some Mischievous Vegeta. What is your thoughts on Vegeta right now?
Vegeta in general is a really consistent MP in getting the higher levels in my mind. The reason I played that deck was because I sacked Eric enough times in testing that it made me realize if I can sack Eric, I can sack anybody, guys. And so that deck was doing better than any of the other ones I was considering when testing against Eric, because there's not really anyone else that I was going on my way to test. I was being that guy. It's a Kai. We want to win. So I was kind of being secretive a little bit, and I knew Eric wasn't going, and so yeah, I tried to get as many games as I could against him. But it had that element of being completely unfair that you want when you're going to an event trying to win. It's a very unfair deck. I mean, it loops it loops Final Flash and goes back and forth between 3 and 4 to shuffle 12 cards while dealing 15 before your opponent can really respond in any way. And I mean, if they have an energy block, more power to them. But I feel like it's kind of in a different class than the rest of the Vegeta decks, because it's mostly carried by the Awakening 3 and the level 4, where the lower levels are just pushing you to that forced pass. So it's a little bit of a different deck than like the other oppressive Vegeta that was there, or in any of the other Vegetas. They're all fighting fair, where this is just skipping you and forcing a pass.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're all good. Continue, please.
Well, I was just going to say every game that I won was a complete sack. I mean, none of them were close, but the games that I lost were complete train wrecks. So
yeah. No, that's totally fair, and that's I think that's an interesting point to make. Is Vegeta consistently gets up in levels. Of course, he has access to Unleash, access to Anger. As Brandon was mentioning, it does feel like the meta is Anger Unleashed, and if you're not Anger Unleashed, you're like an Aura deck that just is camping. That's what it feels like it's been like. Enhanced hasn't existed since North Kai. Of course, Henry did mention the state of Black. Black is not really represented. There was a conflict Krillin in the Shenron Showdown that top 8'd when I don't know what the record was on that deck, but that's I think like the only Black deck that has had like any sort of top cut since I think the not the Grand Kai. There was I think the Colorado event or one of the other Western or Utah events. There was Mischievous Vegeta, one or two of them that top cut. And of course, Mischievous Vegeta super stack, being an aggro anger deck, ideally good, well poised into other aggro decks. So, the only Black deck that's seen really like any good competitive representation has been the Mistress Vegeta, and it didn't win. That was an Oragoku winning event, I believe, or was Empowered Gohan. I can't remember.
I think it was Enlightened.
Goku.
Okay.
Oh.
No, Enlightened won Colorado.
Or Enlightened Gohan, correct.
Yeah,
it was Trevor Morris. Enlightened Gohan, Trevor Morris.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing too we haven't mentioned is so Ryan O'Malley, shout out to him, was taking the results of the events here, and of course I did link them to everybody in our little chat here. Let's take a look here. We have the I gotta go through the chat. I feel so terrible. I thought I had the post up here still. there's a little breakdown of all the top cutters, the MPs, etc., etc. Let's see here. Vegeta has the highest number of decks entering the top cut, yet he's only won not even 30% of the matches that he's done. Whereas you look at Aura Goku, or Goku specifically, winning almost 70%, Gohan winning 70%. Everybody else has just got such little representation; they're not even worth really talking about. But
it is a Goku, Gohan, Vegeta meta. Absolutely, 100%. They're everywhere.
Yeah. So kind of on that pivot here, guys, in the post South Kai wake, Brandon, you ended up winning with empowered Gohan, and you ran the allies. Not a build that, we've seen empowered Gohan top cut, Derek Faraji, with the kind of the mix of the super and the fusion stack, along with like Awakening 2, I believe he ran.
Yep.
In that post set, you went undefeated,
Mm-hmm.
and you played against Aura Goku in the finals.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about the state of empowered Gohan and Namekian Gohan in general?
Namekian Gohan's obviously strong. I think that its representation has kind of proved that. You've had 3 Namekian Gohans make top cut, and there were 3 very, very different decks too. So Gohan is another MP that is really consistent across his stacks. So, Enlightened Gohan, I believe, was all Mystic in Colorado with Trevor Morris. Derek's Empowered Gohan, I think, was Mystic 1 and 2, and then Super 3 and 4. No, it was Awakening 2, because he was doing the leaping kick shenanigans that I'm doing too. Because he was trying to get to Super 3 for the focused attack. And then mine, relied on the ally package, and that was partly influenced by the Swiftguard nerf, because I just, with only 3 cards to really generate those bigger combats, I was just sort of like, well, I don't know that I want to go for the explosive combats. I want to go for more of the consistency that the allies kind of give. So blocks on board, Yajirobe to answer, Vegeta shenanigans, anything when entering combats. And so I ran 7 allies, leaping kick, and tons of energy attacks, and race to Mystic 3, and we talked about tutors earlier. And Mystic 3 is a fantastic tutor MP. Put anything from your discard pile in your hand, so you can loop hybrids. You can put a hand burst in your hand and another attack you want on the bottom of your deck, and hand burst to draw that attack and just chain your combats that way. So I think that Gohan's extremely well positioned. Specifically, Namekian Gohan's really strong. I think the Gohan in general is really powerful right now, for all the reasons that we've talked about. So very, very versatile MP, in my opinion.
Do you think it needs to get hit?
I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. I feel like he is not as bad as Aura Goku was. I feel like he's strong, but not too strong. Maybe he's definitely top tier. Let's not mince words.
I think you made a great point. Is that 3 different builds of him, top cutting and or winning events, but very different from each other. Different levels, different game plans, different builds.
And that's the question: is what do you hit? Mystic 3, I guess, would be an obvious choice, but Derek wasn't running Mystic 3 even.
Yeah.
Maybe Leaping Kick, Awakening 2. I had a lot of people angry at me for Confident Burst and looping that on 3 over and over again, and just it's really difficult for physical beats to keep up with you gaining like 40 to 60 stages out of nowhere by looping Confident Burst over and over again. So I don't know. I think there are definitely but again, we called Joey over, and I was playing Axel, and Axel said, "Okay, why is Confident Burst not BAU? Like, what are we doing here?" And Joey said, "Well, nobody's really done anything with it competitively in a long time." And he said, "So if that one pops up and people, start dominating tournaments by abusing Confident Burst, then we'll look at it." So.
Well, I think that's a great point, is Eric. To go back to what you were doing with Oragoku, you wanted to play it to break it. You wanted to play it and abuse it and show everybody what you thought was wrong with the deck. And I think that's a good philosophy to have. Actually, if we really want something to get done about certain decks, is to just play them. Obviously, there's people that make arguments about balancing stuff. It's like if it's busted and you can't beat it, you might as well play it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I honestly when I think about what to play competitively, that's what I try to go for. Like all my deck building, I try to find something that is not really broken, but something that's really gives you an advantage and something that you can do consistently and uh, looping it or multiple times. You look at a simple thing like looping time, and a lot of card combos can accomplish that. So if you have a deck strategy and you build around this one or several combos and you're able to take advantage of that, then that's a recipe for success. And like I said earlier, Oragoku is the main thing, and even to throw in what Henry said earlier, the MP/mastery combo, that starts it off, and the base of Oragoku it already is strong, and then the next thing is I think you do have to look at the card pool. So the orange has such a great card pool, and you can honestly make the deck anything you want, like in terms of aggro, like you can switch seamlessly between the physical beats and energy beats, and maybe you can even do a mix of the two and still have great success. And then to bring in what Brandon said about Gohan, look at the MP stacks. You have so many choices. You can build the deck however you want it to. Picking whichever levels. So it's a combination of everything, and I think the reason why Gohan does so well and all the decks are so different is because of the choices. The MP pool that you can choose from. You can and that kind of keeps your opponent on their toes as well. So um, they're
Yeah.
stuck trying to figure out what you're trying to do with the deck. Oh, what's their combo? What is going to give them that advantage? And with Brandon's deck, it's the leaping kick shenanigans with a combination of the allies, and then confident burst allows you to access those allies. So it's a combination of everything, and I think that's why those decks are doing well.
On the opposite note, Henry, you're playing an MP that, while consistent, is doing the same thing every game. And do you feel that maybe the fact that you don't have that surprise factor that maybe a Gohan or Goku can have with switching between build styles is maybe something that might keep you out of Top Cut because people just know what to expect against you?
I've actually top cut every tournament I've ever played with Hero Boo. I've played energy beats and physical beats Hero Boo, and I think that is something I've done that's kind of surprised people. Like I played a lot of resourceful Hero Boo, and that did well both of the times I played. I've never won a tournament. I've top cut, so I mean maybe that is showing something with Boo. But I mean, in general, yeah, I think the lack of like a little bit of a surprise factor is kind of damaging. But I think just to Boo, it gives the choice of B, like if you want to kill B or not kill B, which at least in Boo's case is enough to, make it hard for the opponent to navigate. But in general, I think when MPs don't have that surprise factor, they can kind of lead to their downfall sometimes. Because it's everyone.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, everyone who plays this game is so good. Like for the most part, they know what most things are going to be doing. So like I can go into most matchups and against predictable things, I'm like, all right, I need to hold this block, hold this card. So surprise factor is good.
I have a comment to make about that because like I really think that the surprise factor gives you a slight edge, and like you said, there's the community is small. Everyone knows what the strategy is or what the decks do, and decks that also do well have not only ability to tutor and action economy, but the surprise factor, meaning like you can have different lines of play. So if you have more lines of play, it's difficult for your opponent to predict what their next move is, and if you're good at hiding what you're trying to do, then they're not going to see it coming, and you know, you're going to give yourself an advantage in that specific combat or the specific turn. You know, so I think those decks do well, and probably why Hero Boo is a step behind is because of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Hero Boo is very good, but the line of play is very predictable. You're gonna grab your Boo's company, you're gonna play B, and then you're gonna just sit there, hit and rejuve. You know, so it's very linear. You know, it's a very linear play. So if you have decks that kind of branch off, you have so many lines of play, then you kind of, you know, keep your opponents on their toes. So,
and I think that's one of the strengths of Namekian right now too, is that like there are so many ways to access your tools, because now in Empowered you have cards that access the bottom of your discard pile with hand burst, and you know, you're able to set up your discard pile to draw with Mastery. Like there's just a lot of ways for you to arrange things to put them in your favor. But I also think that once you hit top cut, I mean, RNG is a huge factor. Like if I had played you, Henry, I think I would have lost, because I tested against Casey's Hero Boo, and
I have a good ally matchup. Yeah.
yeah, and he was able to banish and get rid of my allies before I was able to level to 2, and I never saw another leaping kick, and so and he 2-0'd me. I almost didn't run the deck at the tournament because of that, because I knew you were going to be there. I was like, he's gonna play Hero Boo, and if I see him in top cut, like it's gonna suck. And so, I mean, sometimes you just dodge your matchups, and so I think that surprise factor is a big deal, but consistency is too. And you know, there's a lot of times when a deck has a game plan, and you know what that game plan is, and you still just like it's difficult to stop it because it's so consistent, like Orogoku.
Yeah.
Because nobody's surprised by what Orogoku does. It just does it so well that you know, you either draw what you need to stop it or you don't. And if you don't, you're in trouble.
I think on that note, Ginyu. There's been a decent amount of Ginyu representation. A lot of, I mean, I think every tournament that a Ginyu showed up, there's been one in Top Cut that we've seen. Resolute Ginyu on Anthony Tardino, Top Cut at South Kai. We've seen Ascension Ginyu, Kevin Dennis, Top Cut at North Kai. We've seen both Beats and Anger Ginyu do very well. He has a lot of what everybody here has mentioned that makes it MP consistent. Good MP power, good mastery synergy. Both just consistent game plan with tutoring, a lot of action economy, as Eric was mentioning. So I'm curious what all of y'all feel about Ginyu right now. Would we consider throwing Ginyu with the MPs we've mentioned, Goku, Gohan, and I'll actually throw Vegeta and Buu in about the same tier, maybe slightly below them personally is how I feel. What do you guys think about Ginyu?
I think Ginyu's top tier. I don't think there's any question. He's underrepresented. I don't think very many people are playing him overall. I think there was a protective Ginyu, which is probably the worst version of Ginyu at South Kai that didn't top. But Anthony topped with Resolute. Kevin did play Ascension, and he went 3-2. So he just bubbled out of Top Cut. So,
well, no, Kevin was in Top Cut. Oh, you're talking about at South Kai. Yeah.
He ran it again at South Kai, and he bubbled out. He was 3-2, but he was 4-1 at North Kai.
Yeah.
So I mean, Ginyu is, I agree. He's another MP that offers a lot of consistency. I don't think he's quite as degenerate as Gohan or Goku, because other than, you know, tutoring allies until he gets to 3, he doesn't really do a ton. But I mean, he's extremely strong.
Here's the one thing I have to say about Ginyu is Ginyu's great. Ginyu's really strong. But just kind of back to what I said, like when you tutor an ally when entering combat, like if you get entered on and they just destroy your ally, like while of course that's just an RNG determines the game thing, that is like a weakness that is a big weakness. Like you can just lose a Top Cut game because they drew an ally hate card turn 1.
Yeah.
And then, that's it. And that kind of weakness can really prevent you from winning an event. You can top, but winning an event when you have that kind of weakness can be hard.
And that's true because all the Ginyus have lost in top 8.
That's true.
Yeah.
First round of Top Cut.
Like it's a great deck. It's just, That one card can screw you over.
Dan and Eric, both of you guys, I've played. I know you guys have run a lot with the Krillin, the Super Stack. Here's another MP that we did pre-discussion of this video. We're talking about it's a great stack, defensiveness, anti-anger on the stack, good survival, life per modifiers. What do you two think about Super Krillin currently, and just Krillin in general, really? I mean, we've seen Krillin top cut. Josh Gregory, of course, top aided at North Kai the Ascension Krillin. I don't think there was any Krillin representation at South Kai though.
Krillin feels like he has an auto loss against Piccolo in my testing, just because he can't stop focused attacks, and so it's kind of hard to push his win con, because I mean, which I feel like he's an anger MP personally, but when you're trying to play him as a control MP, not being able to stop focused attacks is a really big deal. Because most of the time they're going to destroy all your drills along the way, or they're going to, do any other number of terrible things with a hit effect from some focused attack with a relentless deck. So I feel like it's the fact that he's so reactive. Like you're limited to your opponent making mistakes in order to really generate advantage with him. That makes him an awkward personality to play. Your opponent has to come at you, and if they don't, then you basically just sit there with a power that's really cool but doesn't actually do anything for you.
But I also think we're like existing in a meta where everyone is coming at you. So I mean, I don't know. Like I think that if someone were to play Super Krillin like in an event right now, I think they'd do pretty well. Just because like everything is aggressive. We've talked about the absence of black, and I mean, there's no real control decks that are showing up to events right now. Like there's not. And so I think that's Krillin's weakest matchup, absolutely, is where he just sort of, I mean, if your opponent isn't going to attack you, then Super Krillin is just sort of useless. But I think he's one that you have to build really strategically, because you have to be able to go on the offensive if you need to. Which is, yeah, I mean, he is kind of awkward, but I feel like we haven't like seen his full potential yet. That's just kind of my opinion.
I agree with that, and I think Adaptive Krillin is probably the best version of Krillin. I have a list built, but no one's run it at any of the events. Like most people are running the Awakening Krillin's stacks, and they're staying away from Super, and I don't know why, because I think the level 3 is super strong. Having two different powers on the same MP card, offensive and defensive, is just nuts. So and then I think Adaptive Krillin can set up his board with drills, even versus a very passive deck. So honestly, I think if there's a good player that wants to run Super Krillin, they could probably do very well. One of the biggest weaknesses in this current meta with the whole aggro deck is dig, and any sort of unpreventable damage, especially in 1 and 2, can really thin down your deck to start the game off, and then a combination of running too many drills and then you drawing dead, it could just be disastrous for you. So I think one of the other things that's underrepresented is Meditative Mastery, and I think with the provoking nerf, I think if somebody wants to run some sort of meditative deck, could probably do some damage in some events. So it's obviously it's way harder to win with meditative, I think, because RNG, drawing dead and running a high number of dead cards, and then especially in this aggro meta, it's kind of hard to win, and just one mistake could just ruin the whole game for you. So it's a lot more unforgiving than any other decks.
Yeah,
I think that Roshi like kind of mitigates that a lot though, and I think that that's probably, Roshi's another good MP in this meta, in my opinion. But like I agree with you. Like you have to play at a really really high level consistently all day, or you're in for a bad time. But MPs that can kind of recover from that high planning count, like Roshi. I would argue that Frank's cooler list is really strong too. Just because like there's a lot of rejuvenation, a lot of ability to stay alive if you get beat down a little bit. But yeah, meditative. I think the provoking nerf to aura is has put meditative in a lot better spot than it was, because having power up on demand really really helps in the aggro meta. So sorry, Frank, I didn't mean
Oh
to
no
cut
no
you
no,
off.
you're all good. Yeah, no, I mean I'm a post North Kai. I've been playing a lot of meditative, and I know Eric knows this. I've played a lot with Eric, testing some different things. Once provoking drill was gone, like I was having pretty good meditative matchups against Aura, Goku. The hardest matchups I've found are more like the stage beat matchups than energy beat matchups. Um, with meditative, of course, and decks that are just constantly extending combat, whether that be energetic Vegito, for example, and or Goku, or certain builds of Goku and other aggro, physical aggro can be kind of a pain in the butt just because they're action monsters, and if you're not able to end combat, sometimes they just keep going. Every combat you want to end combat on them because they're just constantly going. And figuring out, I think, a build for meditative is very difficult. There are a lot of options there. There's a lot of different shell builds that I've tested with, and I know Eric has tested with. I know Brandon, you've played a little meditative. I don't know Dan and Henry if you guys have really messed with meditative, but it does feel like there's a lot there to work with, and I think we've talked about this a bit. Black Mist is an incredible card in this meta. Being able to flip for a scout maneuver against certain decks to get rid of a lot of these combo decks, getting rid of their combo pieces, slowing them down, searching technique on demand search along with black power up to kind of slow the game down a bit is really good. But again, the brick potential. So I think it's a lot of right now is the meta's too aggressive for most MPs to be viable with that mastery, and the ones that are the most viable need to be very defensive.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to running 20 planning cards that when every deck is attacking you is just not no one. I think a lot of right now we're seeing skewed results in tournaments too because of how scary the big aggro decks are. No one's going to travel to an event for a dead game and play a deck that they know is going to have a chance to just brick, round one, play against an aggro deck and brick. Like, so I think that's also one of the reasons we don't see a lot of black. Is like I think it could be like certain black decks could be good, like some meditative decks and some mischievous decks. It's just no one's willing to play a deck that they see easy to lose.
Yeah.
Well, we talked
So-
about the surprise potential, too earlier. Like nobody's like people are cheating on things like protecting their discard pile right now, because they don't expect black in the meta, and so I think we're seeing a lot of like people are not prepared to face control. People are planning for aggro because aggro is easier, honestly. Like I'm not afraid to say it. I ran a really aggressive deck at South Kai, but I tried to mitigate my other aggro matchups with allies, and it worked. But my deck was super aggro. It's like just run to 3 and then throw energies for 1 billion the whole game.
I think a black deck would have done very well against your Namekian.
100%. But I knew it wasn't going to happen, right? So I was like, okay, like I don't have to worry about it.
I think Eric
and
I think Eric makes a great point by bringing up a deck, and I think we've made some good points about, everything has a bad matchup. Everything has a bad matchup, and so it's a matter of playing into that matchup. You almost didn't run Gohan because of Boo. Eric brings up Black, has great matchups. People were talking about this being aggro meta. We're talking about Krillin should be poised to do great against those matchups, but then he's going to flounder in other matchups. Reactive decks. the state of reactive decks. You can have a great stack that completely shuts down a game for an aggro deck, but like anything slower, you're gonna do nothing. Like um, pile hate being cheated on. Like there's just like all these things that are missing in the meta that would be good that people are not playing. They're not playing stuff that's defensive. They're not playing stuff that's got tech, any sort of deck management, any sort of pile management. Should they be playing those things? Would you be able to consistently win in a field if you were building to be or to have those things in your deck? And what would that deck look like?
I think the players right now are staying away from those types of decks, and I think we need some players who want to play those decks to be able to have them show up. And like Henry said, even the players that normally don't play those decks are afraid to bring and build decks like that right now because of the current state of the meta. So
I mean, I like Meditative Mastery a lot, but it is really scary to run Meditative. Honestly, because it's like it requires you to play really, really well all day, if that makes sense. Like you, because I know in our house tournament before North Kai, I ran Meditative Roshi and beat everybody until I played Dynamic Frigida out of nowhere in that top cut, in top four. So it's like, okay, so everything's unpreventable, and I'm probably gonna die, and I did. But I think that Meditative Roshi is really strong. It's a strong deck, and I'll stand by that. But you are always one or two misplays away from just losing the game. So you pick the wrong setup, you block the wrong attack, you are just gonna die. And so I think that people are scared away from black in general right now for that reason. But I do think black is viable in this meta. Um, it just is going to require somebody to kind of bite that bullet and sort of jump into the deep end of the pool and go. But
What about
yeah,
manipulative? I mean, manipulative does everything that I just mentioned. You have the defensiveness, you have the pile hate, you have access to the black control card pool. Shouldn't manipulative be doing better? Shouldn't that have some representation? Is there something that's keeping manipulative out from being there against these aggro decks?
Like Brandon said, like he said, like your one or two misplays. It's not even misplays. It's just like Namekian decks. Like you can brick and you can still win. Like you can't stabilize with black. Like you just draw poorly. Like that's not a misplay. That's just something that black can't recover. And I think that's why
Do you think
it
so?
has trouble. Like,
Do you think the style itself can't recover, or do you think it's just like?
well, I mean, black wins the game by not letting your opponent win the game, and like, so if you slip not by a misplay, like, I don't know, I think it can be hard to cover. Like, you have like manipulative, you have shoulder charge. You have, if you draw absorption drill, you can recover. But if you draw that one drill that you can't tutor, you can recover. But like, it's one
that's
card.
that's what I was going to say.
That's
Is
the
like
thing. Like, you draw
black has
smoothness
the
drill, you're
ability
gonna
to
have a great day.
recover. Black
Yeah.
100% has the ability to recover. It's just tied to like one or two drills,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's one
there's
card.
no
It's a lot
drill
of one
tutors.
of
You can't.
cards.
If you want to be an android, I guess you can tutor drills in black,
Oh,
but
a
there are
2-up,
no. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but there are no drill tutors for black at all. And so, if you're an alien, you get possessive drill, which is fantastic, and absorption drill. And when those two cards hit the field, it is extremely oppressive. Like it is hard to beat a black deck if those cards stay in play. But because I mean, I've brought games back when I'm sub 10 and they're like at 20 something with absorption drill, easy. But like you cannot guarantee that happening. Like that's the issue. And so again, I mean that brings up Roshi, who has Backsmash, which is a tutor, and you can play Absorption Drill from your hand to prevent damage from an attack, and so he can add some of that consistency. But yeah, black can't recover very well. I agree with Henry. Like you have to be very proactive.
You have to be lucky to
avoid.
recover.
Well, and I think you have to play proactively. Like you have to play to dodge combats, and
Well, isn't that where you would pick an MP to combo with it though?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think there's more recovery in the card pool than you guys are giving it credit for personally. I think Eric can attest to this as well from our testing with Meditative. There's quite a bit of recovery in black.
I guess there's that one event, Black Restoration. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Black
Central Green?
Restoration for sure.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, we're playing a game that turn one, they can turn over half your deck. A lot of the decks that you'd play against at a Kai can do that. They enter combat. You draw no blocks. They kill half your deck, and most styles can come back from that, not from being able to rejuvenate all that damage, but they can deal that same damage back out. Where black just can't do that. Black doesn't have it has one or two cards that can put out that kind of damage, and that's it. And then preventing that from happening in the first place, like when you're behind like that with black, it's very difficult to come back. You have to have a stranglehold from turn one and pretty much not lose grip the whole game. So
I think that's a great point. Absolutely. Black, I think every style has an aggro option other than black. And they have every style either is able to generate a lot of actions or they're able to build up a bunch of modifiers.
Yeah.
Whereas black has neither of those. Then black's actions come from its board state and their setups, and that's it. That's really it. They don't have cards in hand that give you multiple actions. Not many that are good, at least.
Yeah, I mean, black is just all about removing your opponent's, stuff that hurts you the most before they can use it.
So,
Um,
so if we were going to look at the styles, because we've talked about black a bit. If we were going to look at the styles, like where are we ranking the styles? Do we feel that there's maybe like let's like everybody's kind of like top 3 styles, or 2. We'll say 2. What are your 2 best styles you think right now? If you were going to play an event, what do you think are the 2 best things to play for someone?
Orange and Namekian.
What do you think, Henry?
Yeah, orange and Namekian.
Eric?
Also orange and Namekian.
Dan?
Yeah, orange and Namekian.
I mean,
Saiyan's right behind.
Saiyan is
Saiyan
good, and then
overall
red is like
well,
under Saiyan. Red and blue are like under Saiyan, and then black.
Black is bottom, easy.
Yeah.
Right now.
So as far as red and I'm gonna look at red and Saiyan. I think like Namekian and Orange have won almost every event. I mean, I won with Enhanced Gohan, but like I said, RIP King. But let's look at red and Saiyan. What is keeping red and Saiyan right underneath Orange and Namekian right now?
I think the Saiyan masteries are just subpar compared to, overall. Like, I think that the Saiyan masteries just don't do enough when you compare them to multiple Orange masteries and multiple Namekian masteries. You have knowledge, still very strong. Empowered is crazy good. Like that mastery is insane. Aura, obviously, we've talked about. Combative and adaptive are both still really good.
Couldn't we almost put Empowered and some actually pivot to Dan here? Couldn't we almost like put Empowered and Oppressive in the same tier though, as far as like they're both masters that are like building up consistency, except maybe the difference is that like there's a lot more RNG drawing off your deck versus drawing off the bottom of your pile.
I think Empowered just does so much more than Empowered just you're able to set up what you're doing. You know what your options are moving forward from turn one, and that does come back to cheating pile hate right now because it's not really in the meta. Probably the grossest play. I just had to say this earlier because Brandon was playing Mystic 3 and we were talking about it. But I mean, just watching him Mystic 3 to put 3 hand burst on the bottom of his life deck to then put 1 in his hand was like the grossest thing. The fact that you're able to do that is just ridiculous. I feel like Saiyan wins off of gimmicks like Oppressive and
Rampaging's a gimmick as far as I'm concerned. They're not. It's not a
It is.
consistent mastery.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like I mean it can feel extremely oppressive when it goes off, but when it doesn't, like you just die. And enhanced was definitely the best sand mastery, and
And
now it
and
is
arguably the best part about that mastery was the RNG banish.
yeah,
That was
and now
arguably the best part about that mastery.
it was, and now it's dumpstered. I mean, like it just does not have the consistency to hang. You know, I'm a big rampaging player, but admittedly, like there are games you just lose, and there's nothing you can do about it. Oppressive is obviously strong, but like
Defiant.
not every MP can run it.
Defiant's not a bad mastery. It doesn't have the pull for it though.
No, it's going to be good. It's just not good right now,
Mhm.
and nobody
Yeah.
plays dynamic. You know, so
Yeah, dynamics. There's no.
Poo-poo.
Dynamic Goku is good every other time.
That's the
it's
only.
not really good even. Like it's a gimmick. You
It
know,
is a gimmick. It is a bit of a gimmick. It's generally gimmick ball, and it's slow.
I
It's a
run
slow
Spirit
deck.
Bomb.
You can do I mean you can do Spirit Bomb, Dragon Ball. You can do ally beats. Spirit Bomb usually
Yeah.
is what people do. It does feel really gimmicky. It doesn't really. Sane doesn't have quite the ball support. It's got good enough ball support to be a deck you can lose to, but it's just not a fast deck.
Yeah.
Um,
And then red, I mean, I think red ball is probably like that doesn't even seem like it's very good right now. And I think that's a symptom of it being an aggressive meta. Like people are going to cap your balls.
Energy beats meta. Stage beats is barely. Um,
I mean,
y-
stage beats is top cutting.
I
Like
mean,
pretty
it can top
consistently.
cut. It's not winning. It's not winning.
Enlighten Gohan one.
Oh, that's true. Actually, yes. Back,
Yeah.
but back. That was pre like Swift Guard nerfs and everything. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
it was pre nerf, but
but
I think
still,
stage
it.
beats can win. Because stage beats tends to snowball really well.
But it's also making
Um,
Gohan, which we've talked about being one of the best decks in the game
yeah, that's true.
for a number of reasons.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Not that it doesn't mean stage beats. So the stage beats is not necessarily bad right now, but there's certain factors that
It
make it
just
good. Like
you
Dan,
have to work. You have to work harder to win by stage beats than you do energy beats.
yeah.
Like that's because you have to deal those 10 stages first. I mean,
What do you think about that comment, Eric? Because I know you've been testing. You've you feel that Oragoku physical is better than the energy. You know, how do you feel about that? If you were to take that to tournament right now, you still think that you top cut with that? Could win with that?
Sorry, my baby's a little crying
Oh,
right
okay.
now. But
I can leave you alone.
yeah, I think I might have to cut this short. So it's been great talking to you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your input, Eric.
later, man.
Bye. Later.
Okay, well, I'll answer my own question then. I think okay.
It could win.
But yeah, it does feel like there's only like a couple very specific stage beat decks. But there's a lot of there's like Goku and Aura decks running gravity training, and Ginyu puts out a lot of stage beats, but not necessarily from physical stage damage attacks. So like stage
Well,
beat.
Henry's top cut with Resourceful Boo.
Yeah, I have something to say about that.
Okay.
Why look at the decks that are doing good. It's Goku. The physical beats decks are doing good. It's Goku. It's Namekian Gohan. It's I've done well with Boo. I think it was better than it is now, but all the decks like Gravity Training Drill, like you're still doing life card damage. Like it's those pure stage beat decks like Vegeta when they have no other way to win unless they'll combat where they're at 0 the whole time.
Yeah.
Like Hero Boo, even if I'm never doing stage damage, I'm still doing 3 life with every attack on level 4. Like Namekian Gohan, he has life mods, and Oragoku, like he still has the orange defense and an energy attack to fall back on. Like you're still, and Ginyu's doing, +2/+2 with Goldo. Like he could win just in resourceful by throwing 10 attacks that are dealing 2 life cards. Like the good stage beat decks are hybrid beats, or at least have life damage. They can be physical, but they have some sort of life damage or Namekian consistency to make it so that if you don't see that big combat, you can still win.
We've seen Red Vegeta make finals.
We have seen Red Vegeta, but not win. But not win. Remember,
not win.
to go back to
That's
the Vegeta, Vegeta has only won 5 out of the 15 games in Top Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look,
Well, and there's a marked difference. Like, I mean, looking at Axel's deck versus,
Dance.
Dan's deck. Axel's was way more stage beats focused, and Dan's was more energy. And so Dan made top 4, Axel made top 8. So there's
Yeah.
something to be said for that, probably.
Yeah. Dan, in your testing, it seemed like the life beats were better, or at least having the life beat, at least needing the mix beats.
I mean, that deck was just trying to get every free advantage it could. So every attack that said skip, I was running in the deck. So like I would do stage damage, but it would really just be for the free anger from the skip. And so, I mean, that deck I feel like just plays by a different set of rules because it's just trying to abuse a gimmick of ending combat without you getting an action. And I mean, it did that pretty consistently until it didn't, but I mean, I do feel like that Vegeta is the sneakiest Vegeta right now. I don't know that it's the strongest Vegeta out there. The ruthless Vegeta that I played against in top 8, that was a scary deck, but yeah, it relied entirely on stage damage. And he did get his combat. The first time I played him in Swiss, I got him down to 2 life cards and he turned over my entire deck because I just ran out of gas there. But yeah, life card damage with Vegeta is really not what he's after. I feel like it's all stage beats, and that's what everyone's pushing. Every one of the Vegeta decks that was at South Kai was all pushing stage damage.
But you top cut with the life card beats.
Yeah, yeah, but I Awakening 3, that's really what makes that deck work in my mind.
Yeah, well, you're different with, like I said, different build though. But with the Awakening 3 versus going for gas pedal on 3, you have the combat control is better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously, maybe for like an oppressive deck, it's a bit different than like Ruthless, because Ruthless wants to get in those combats. But like oppressive, having combat
Let's run
control,
away.
on an MP in an aggro meta, very
Yeah, right.
powerful.
Right.
Which is, I mean, top cut at North Kai, Jeff Sosa had like one
Yeah.
loss. Had like one loss. I think. I can't remember if he went 5-0 in Swiss or not. I can't even remember. It's been a moment, but
With Ascension Trunks.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think did he win? Did he lose one in Swiss?
I think he did. I don't know who.
Because
It was.
I think Jacob with Aura Goku was the only 5-0.
Okay, that's what. Yeah, I think he lost to Jacob.
Yeah.
But Resourceful has a lot of tools to beat beat this meta. Has level control, has anger hate, has action generation. Doesn't have pile hate, but is also kind of not quite entirely pigeonholed to full stage beats. Like as example, if you run it with like Boo, for example, like Henry was saying, or maybe some MP that brings some life card modifiers. Should Resourceful be played more?
I think the two good resourceful decks are. Yeah, I think it should be played more. Like I said, it's kind of back to what I said. The two best performing resourceful decks are Ginyu and Hero. Well, not too many people are playing it, but
No,
Ginyu and Hero Boo.
I think you're right.
Like the ones that have life damage,
I think Resourceful Krillin's a deck too.
Resourceful, yeah.
Resourceful Krillin's pretty neat.
But like, I don't know. I think any stage beats MP aside from Vegeta, like people are just too afraid to play in a tournament. Like
Vegeta's the best stage beats MP right now.
Yeah, he's the most consistent. You look at him, you're like, oh, hey, you have that game where you're just looping between 3 and 4. You're like, man, this deck is unbeatable, and then you play it in the tournament because you feel like it's so consistent. But so I feel like we don't, and not a lot of people are going to play Vegeta and Resourceful. I think Resourceful Vegeta is pretty good. But.
It's really strong. I think Majin Vegeta is underrepresented too. Though.
Yeah,
very much.
Majin Vegeta.
Especially when people were so hard on Aura, like why weren't? I mean, well, there's reasons why. Yeah, we can get into that one. Why you don't?
Right.
Why Vegeta still couldn't beat that matchup? But
Mocking Drill,
provoking drill existing.
Yeah.
But One other MP I was going to bring up. We've kind of touched on a bunch of these MPs. I think most MPs that we've been mentioning after the Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and really it's like the Gohan Goku seems like what we kind of what we think is at the top, but then there's a bunch of MPs bubbling underneath. Villain Boo is another one. What do we think about
Yeah.
Villain Boo? I kind of put him in the same camp as Krillin. You know, a little too reactive to be consistent, but great and
Well,
should in theory be good into the aggro.
I
you have
almost,
3 stack options.
yeah,
So
I
it doesn't have to
almost
be
played
reactive.
him at South Kai. I almost did red Villain Boo. I don't know. He's really good. I don't know why more people don't play him. It's just annoying because he has to kind of do stages to be what you're saying he is to answer the meta, like with board hate and recursion. He has to be stage beats, and like we said, like unless you're Vegeta, like why would you play stage beats Boo when you could play stage beats Vegeta?
Yeah, Vegeta's got more damage potential. Boo's got more just like I'm gonna live.
I don't know if you absolutely have to be stage beats.
No, you don't.
Well, with
I
Villain,
think that you can do
You
with villain. I think
I-
you can do fat
Yeah.
one to get your treats out of your deck,
yeah,
and then go super 2 through 4,
yeah,
and then super 2 is physical for 5 life. Raise your anger 2 if they've used a power,
Yep.
which they're
Gets your
gonna.
drill. Your drill's really good. Or
Yeah, yeah. So it tutors that drill, and then super 4 is like in
Nuts.
contention for the best level 4 in the game.
yeah,
I mean, easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, Super Boo, like definitely has a spot. I think he's a top tier MP right there with everybody else.
But where do you put
I don't
him?
know.
Where do you put him? Where do you put that? Where would you put that kind of deck though? What style? And how do you win? Are you
Orange, orange is really strong.
Slap it on orange. Yeah.
Orange, red. You
Red
can
and
run
orange.
commanding villain boo. It's pretty good. Black, manipulative, also strong. I don't know.
Mischievous. We saw Mischievous Boo do pretty well, right? Didn't? Or no, it was Mischievous Vegeta that was topping.
Yeah,
right?
that one was definitely stage beats though. Like
Yeah, for
Kelly's
sure.
Kelly's
For sure.
mischievous boo is all stage beats.
Yeah.
But no, I think Super Boo definitely has a spot. Like with that 3 and 4, just toolboxing everybody else's cool stuff. Like you're
Yeah.
you're in a good
Mimicry.
spot.
Mimicry Boo. I mean, Mimicry
Very
kind of
strong.
is a little worse now.
Well, there's no pile hate in the meta, so why shouldn't Mimicry be
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah. Mimicry's got to be good.
meta call at least. I think there's a lot of stuff that I think at this point we're just getting into meta call stuff.
Yeah.
Piccolo is another one that's I think he's underplayed right now.
Piccolo.
And everything but
sorta-
Namekian, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we sort of see like 1 or 2 every event. Knowledge Piccolo is still extremely strong. Super stack or otherwise.
Yeah, I think Jeff Sosa is a big advocate of the Knowledge Piccolo Super Stack, and I've been playing it and I love it. It's
It's really good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and it creates a lot. It doesn't do as much damage as Empowered, but like you have the balls to fall back on if all else fails, and you're triple Vic. So it's like you have those multiple avenues to victory, and it's another deck that nobody's teching for. Nobody's expecting it.
Yeah.
I think Wallbreaker's pretty meta right now though.
It is.
Not that Piccolo Knowledge has the best
But
answers
you
out of all
have
the
lethal
knowledge.
chop.
Yeah, out of all the knowledge appeals, Piccolo's got the best answers. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been afraid to run Piccolo because of Sweeping Blast, honestly.
that too though, that's a big
Yeah.
meta. Tandem Blast if it's Red Vegeta. I think red people, all these people hard stuck on Hero Vegeta need to be playing Tandem Blast at like 3 in my opinion. Like you're bad if you're not playing that card at a 3 and you're not trying to just like 3-4 loop that card on repeat.
Yeah. But the thing about Piccolo, like the weakness to sweeping and tandem blast, like it's kind of the same reason why Black isn't great. Like, yeah, people will just say, oh, you just use special beam cannons to get rid of them. Like it's the same as Black. Like, what if they just draw it before you're able to get rid of them? You're screwed.
Yeah.
True.
Well, you're taking an MP that can tutor card versus RNG draw though, so like your consistency is better than theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's and I think that's been the theme of what The meta is the stuff that is the most consistent is stuff that's tutoring stuff on its levels, has a good MP mastery synergy, I think, as Henry, you said.
Yeah.
Obviously that's what you're always gonna be working with is those two, but it's the meta has got to the point where it's you're looking, and even Vegeta 3-4 is tutoring things. Everybody that is competitive right now is tutoring, has a
Yep.
tutor
Yeah.
on their stack.
At some point. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Draku, right? Like,
Draku 4.
that's why
All the
Draku
new
was so
MPs.
busted
Draku 4.
forever. It was because he's like, oh, let me just go get anything from anywhere. That seems pretty good. Um, and people are still running Draku 4 with the super stacks, like in commanding, for instance. Draku 4 is a difficult MP to outperform.
Very true.
So, but I do think that the sweeping tandem weakness thing is really overstated in a lot of ways. Because sweeping and tandem just screw you over no matter what. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of, if you're an MP, because Piccolo's non-style count is still not super high comparatively.
Knowledge
But
is. Knowledge you have like 20
Yeah.
at least.
that's true. Well, just balls and all that too, I guess.
Oh, Tug,
Tug, spheres,
That's true,
coffers
Tug.
potentially.
But I mean, you're probably not gonna. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
you probably want Tug like in your deck. So yeah, there's definitely some there, but like I mean, I got sweeping blasted in finals where I had time and Confro in my hand. And so I'm just like, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna sit here and eat this combat. So yeah, it happens.
Well, it's not that like it answers the deck, it's just the thing that's scaring people away from playing it in tournaments.
Yeah, I
Like
think
Dan
so.
said, like I'll play Piccolo all the time, like on Octagon and like high non-style counter decks all the time, but like I'm not gonna go to a tournament and bring a deck
That can
just
brick.
because I'm afraid of just
Yeah.
round one they sweep boss me, I lose, and then I'm fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess now I have like this
It just
degree of
scares people.
freedom,
Yeah.
like where
You can
I'm
play
just
whatever
like, I'll
you
just
want.
go play some stuff and see what
Yeah.
happens, right? So
I think that's a great point though. Between the aggro meta and then the non-style hate being so like you have to account for it, it's scaring a lot of people off decks that are really good.
Yeah.
That just have maybe a high margin of error, and very punishing to be caught. And so people are just it's easier to go into aggro, high styled count, throw attacks. Attacks generate generally more advantage than blocks unless you're orange really is the most action generating or value generating
Yeah.
blocks, but
so then why, if everybody's afraid of non-styled hate, like one option is Go Tanks.
Go Tanks, Gohan.
I mean,
I've been liking Go Tanks. Yeah.
Go Tanks is extremely strong and nobody plays him.
Yeah.
Like he's got the prevent on one, he's got anger, he's got tutors, he's got
A double attack on 4.
yeah, I mean even
Game
3, like
stages, mills,
3,
like the 3 is
yeah.
great too. Get a
3's
name
great
card.
because like yeah, oh you stopped my
ghost.
6 or 7 life card attack, like I'm gonna go tutor and get an ally and hit you more, and I mean it's
Yeah.
Go Tanks is really strong and nobody plays him.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Manipulative Go Tanks.
Very defensive. I mean, double down.
Yeah. Or Unleashed, get to 3, get to 4.
That's fair.
There's a lot of options. I think that's the thing. Like we've sat here and we've discussed, so many different decks and MPs and master. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's obviously Orange and Namekian are kind of dominating, but like they're not unbeatable and they're not, they're not overwhelming matchups because Red, I think, has a great Orange matchup right now.
Do you think it's mostly that it's like people kind of coming out of slumber and gravitating towards the easy, obvious stuff more so than people, and then it's rather than going for like this more off the wall stuff or kind of like a lot like you see new stack and you're like, oh, this is good, I'll play this, and it's going to be at least pretty decent. You think it's a lot of that kind of going on?
Yeah.
Whereas like maybe the more experienced play, I mean, we'd have to look, but I'd argue the more experienced players playing other stuff, but it's like even like Eric and you playing very like obviously top tier stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and
I'd argue me and Henry here are the most like out there with what we played.
Well, and like I don't know, I don't want to play that whole like I'm a special unicorn card, but I mean my Namekian deck was really different, but it was still Namekian Gohan, and I'm still like I'm just gonna use my whole discard pile as a toolbox and hit you in the face the whole game. So it wasn't that different, but I mean it was different enough that it threw people off. So, yeah, I mean, what I tried Ascension Vegeta at North Kai and got sacked.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not seeing anybody win with MPPV either. Like we've had one MPPV deck make finals, and that was Jeff's Ascension Trunks.
Yeah.
Which is still top tier. Ascension Trunks is always going to have
That
a
deck
place.
is probably pretty good right now too.
It's
I mean,
100% great.
it's so hard to win an event with that deck, but like you could get to the
I don't think
finals and top 4. Like
I don't think
it's
that
not hard. But it's not hard. It's so like any deck that has to stop the game from happening to win, like black, can always have that margin of just drawing dead
Yeah.
and losing.
You just feel powerless against Ascension Trunks most of the time, though. You know, like
sometimes,
it's just,
sometimes.
Except that one
well,
game
until
in
you can
top
stop
4.
his MP powers.
I mean, if you're, yeah,
And you have lower anger 2 on your level 2, and
you know, you have all the tools to
unpreventable 6
beat him,
damage.
you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, and on that note, yeah, I think MPPV is just I think between beats just being so quick, Anger Hate being pretty good in the game, Wallbreaker being pretty meta, like MPPV is not in a great spot.
No, it's not. But I think that it wasn't a pretty strong spot. I mean, we had 3 MPPV decks top at North Kai.
Yeah, that's very true.
But I think people started running Wallbreaker after that point, or you know, I don't know. Like I feel like it is a pretty wide open meta, despite the fact that we see Goku and Gohan dominating, because people will just gravitate to the easiest options.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, just like I've said, comes down to people's willingness to play something that they like aren't sure about in a tournament.
Yeah.
Like there's like one, like most players, like if they're traveling to a tournament, are going to go to what, like 1, maybe 2 the whole season. Like if they're lucky, so they're not going to go and be like, oh, I'm going to see if I can win with black. They're going to be like, oh, Vegeta's good, I'm going to play Vegeta, or Goku's good, I'm going to play Goku.
Yeah.
It's one tournament. I'm not going to go and play something I think is shitty or try to be off the wall, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
But I think it's also led to like a lack of innovation.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah.
What about DBV? I mean, in an aggro meta, you can always sack 7 balls on someone if you have a deck that can. I mean, like we said, you were saying earlier you didn't think red ball was great, Brandon, but like it's the easiest style to hold onto the balls with. Maybe outside of knowledge, probably still better than knowledge when no one's playing knowledge.
I think it's good. I think Slug is still really good. Slug got that new level 2, I think. I guess Wayne didn't. He played at North Kai, right? I don't think, he did amazing, but I think there was another tournament he got like 2nd place with a little before that. It might have been before Super. I don't know. I think DBV
He
is
did good at the Bagel tournament with Slug, I think. That's what he ran.
Like, it can always win, and like that's pretty good. To just be able to win for no reason.
Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
I think that it's just one of those sneakier strategies that if you have all the right ingredients, like you can do a lot with. I don't think as a primary win con it'll be as successful as a dual Vic option. But yeah, I think that Dragon Balls like definitely have a place in the meta. They're not being run because they're risky. I think that's one of the things the Super Balls bring with them, though, is less vulnerability to having your balls taken. You don't really care because they don't really have super powerful effects. And then if you're able to shuffle balls that are capped back, that's cool. I think the Super Balls, someone's going to do something cool with them. Hasn't really been done yet, but yeah, the Namek balls, I mean, if you're running those and you're not knowledge, like you're basically auto losing to knowledge. And then when you look harder at the mastery, you realize that it will protect any type of Dragon Ball. You just only lose the mill. So maybe someone with a super knowledge deck will. I don't know. I'm just joking there, but yeah, I mean, I think the deck is, or I think as a win con, you got to be able to do something with the balls with your hand as well, like energetic, let you discard them. Commanding as well. There are other decks, but as a primary, like only gonna win Dragon Ball victory deck, your options are really pretty limited there outside of Namekian, whether you're Radiant or Knowledge.
And it's hard. I mean, because the same things we're talking about, people being afraid to run high planning counts. I mean, like I run 4 balls and I drew balls on defense all day. So it's not ideal. Like you don't want to see those in your hands in an aggressive meta like we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It could be worth exploring. I think as a secondary win condition, backup win condition for sure.
Knowledge Piccolo.
Knowledge Piccolo for sure. Maybe Super Ball. I do agree with everything you said about the Super Balls, Dan. I just think nobody really has wanted to play with them outside of a few people to even test them, it feels like. So
I mean, having a different ball set is cool, like, because I mean, you can screw yourself out of victory if you're both running Namek balls and you just get banished. Like, so there's an advantage there. Sorry, Dan.
Well, no, I mean, the deck that I almost played that I got spooked off of. I mean, it definitely ran Dragon Balls as a win con, and they were super balls. So I've been very infatuated with that idea this season, and I don't know that I would have been successful. Of course, hindsight's 2020. Every match that I had all day, I would have done much better, I think, with that deck than the deck that I brought.
but you still top forward.
But I did still top 4, and the pressure's off because I got second place grandfathered, so I'm almost certainly going to be running that at Supreme Kai.
Writing that down.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Of course, nothing for you to worry about either because pressure's off for you too.
Exactly, man. I'm running Tapion.
Tier 3 Tapion. Yeah. Yeah. No. But yeah, I will be playing an arguably bad ball deck in about a month here, so I'm excited about it.
Right on.
Well, looping back to that though, like I mean, we talked about how Krillin's struggles against stasis. I mean, balls are the answer to that. And he has crits on 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to roll up with
Krillin
red Krillin ball. Is what needs to happen.
Yeah, you definitely could. Definitely could be a good deck. It should be like that level 1. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say the problem is that all the good red ball cards are physicals.
Right.
Like you have to run energies in Krillin, and none of the good red ball. There's no red ball cards.
The red energies are fucking awful too.
Yeah,
they're not
like
good.
What? Oh, you get to raise your anger 1 on defense. Woo! You want to be like doing red ball things, which are all physical cards, and you can't run them because you have to.
Yeah, I think black is.
I mean, what physical
black or
cards
blue
are
would be much. Black or blue would be much better. So.
Well, like the crit things. Go ahead.
It's protective. It's protective Krillin triple Vic. It's so fun, guys. It's been.
Hey, I was not gonna out you, Dan.
I know, but you immediately started talking about Krillin, but yeah, just get ready, guys. Yeah. When y'all show up to Supreme Kai, you're gonna have a really boring deck to play against, but man, is it fun for me.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of too much more to really discuss, I guess, other than, how do you guys, kind of a closing thought, do you guys feel like this is a good meta? Do you think we're moving in a good direction? Do you think the CRDs were good? Do you think people will maybe explore a bit more?
I was unhappy with the hit to enhanced mastery, and also the hit to swift guard. But I will say that both of those hits did serve to open up the meta. and I personally am really enjoying the game right now. I think nothing is just horrifically strong. And the things that are strong, there are answers out there for sure for everything that someone could show up with. I'm currently a huge fan.
And you're kind of like the mad scientist innovator, you and Eric. I think that you have always had a propensity to try new things and surprise people with strategies. So, but I think I agree. I feel like enhanced was hit way too hard. So I think personally, I would like to see some of those changes walked back. I think turning kick needs to stay at one of, but I think that letting the mastery proc more than twice a combat is okay. Because I think then the non-styled hit was necessary. But I think that it's not oppressive at that point to let the mastery have more than one opportunity to proc. Because then you're just limited to the cards in your hand. It's not all your MP powers. Because that's really what it was for me, was seeing all these dudes proc. Like, I love procking it off of Riot Javelin with Bardock. That was a blast. But anyways, like, I think enhanced needs to be walked back. I think we finally have Aura Goku in a good place where it's a top tier deck, but not like so oppressive that it beats everything. I think we have 7 or 8 MPs that are top tier. I mean, at North or South Kai, we had top 4 was 4 different MPs, 4 different styles.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that looks like a healthy meta. So
aside from the 12 Vegetas that were played,
there were a lot of Vegetas. That's why I ran Yajirobe.
only like 2 tops. Yeah.
Yeah. 3, I think. I think we had 3
Yeah,
Vegetas in top.
all you Vegeta lovers out there, get fucked.
Yeah. Well, we had like 3 Vegeta, Goku, Gohan.
Yeah. Ginyu.
We had Ginyu, Hirobu. So I mean, like, it was, and yeah, we had Rampage and Gohan too.
Yeah.
Was the other top cut deck.
Yeah.
So I mean, every style but black was represented in top cut, and a ton of different MPs. And to me, that looks like a balanced game, even if we're currently in an aggressive meta. But I think that's a symptom of people just being afraid to try other things more than anything.
That's it. People are afraid. I think we'd see a lot more success from slower decks. It's scary. Like, I wanted to play a slower deck, but I got scared away from it. Same what Dan just said. Like, you don't want to go to your one event and just get blown up.
Yeah. I think I actually pretty much agree, right? Exactly with Dan, myself as well. There's a handful of decks that are really, really powerful that can definitely win an event that you should expect to be in top cut that are going to win, and you need to be able to beat them. You have to be one of them. And they have counters, but you're going to have to either play one of them because they kind of cookie cutter each other, or have a 50-50, or you're going to suffer to one and win to the other. And then, there's a bunch of decks that are you could see in top cut, or you should expect to see in top cut, that I don't feel are necessarily going to win, but you got to be able to beat them. And I think a lot of the MPs that we mentioned, you should expect to see those MPs in a top cut, and know the matchup accordingly with your deck that you choose to play. But I think we're in a pretty healthy meta for the most part. I would like, my only thing is I just wish they walked back something on enhanced, but otherwise, I think we're in a good state personally.
I appreciated the quick response to Aura, honestly. Like, the really, really quick CRD changes.
I did too.
I think we're a good call. So
yeah. Well, guys, I think, like I said, I think we've kind of covered everything here. But I appreciate all of your times. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Dan. And Eric, when you're out there, if you ever watch this, thank you as well once again for all of your input and your time. But yeah, guys, I think we're going to call it here. Anybody else, if you want to, and you're still hanging around, there's plenty of other stuff to check out on the channel. And I hope you guys are kind of keeping in touch with the events. Please support them. Please keep on the discussion and keeping the game going, guys, because this is a lot of fun for me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Take it easy, guys. Peace.